All right, John, stand by. Here we go.
I'm ready.
Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier and Adrian Paul, right here on LA Talk Radio.
All right, welcome to Peace Fund Radio. Adrian Paul has made it to his show. Welcome.
Good morning.
Welcome, Adrian
Good
Paul.
morning, Adrian. Good morning, Ethan.
Good morning. Good morning.
John Brearley was ready to...
He's to step in.
Yeah.
I was ready to step in, Adrian. I was ready to go. While we're getting Adrian mic'd up, I will say to everyone listening out there today, welcome to Peace Fund Radio. This is our 138th episode. Pretty exciting. It's does it seem like it's been long, or does it seems like it's been longer than that? It seems like it's been a little longer than that to me. It feels like we've been doing this for a while.
138 is misleading because you do it once a week. So it seems like it has been longer than that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a grandfather already. Well, almost am, actually. So how you doing, John?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing well, guys. Doing well. Interesting that one of our topics today is going to be fitness. I played wiffle ball with my cousin's 8-year-old kids last night, and man, it
took the breath out of you.
Yeah, that's great.
Sorry, what was it? Football?
Wiffle ball.
What's that?
It's sort of a softer softball, kind of a. So you kind of throw like a really soft ball. Much softer than softball.
It's much softer than softball, John. I'm getting worried about you. Don't tell me you're getting soft.
The 8-year-old thought it was the greatest thing in the world, and again, I discovered that I'm not in the best shape. I need to do some work.
Trust me, I did the same thing running after my kids. I was actually doing that this morning, and then they like to run. And then I'm like, oh yeah, let's do that. It's a great idea. And then you kind of go, I'm going out of breath here. And they're still running. I'm running. Like, oh, well, those days are gone. What about you, Ethan? Do you run around a fountain ever?
No.
No. That's what I do with my kids. When I put them in a restaurant, you have to run after them.
What restaurant has a fountain?
No, actually, the one I actually was at the Galleria sometimes, the not Pizza Kitchen, the Cheesecake Factory. There's a fountain right out there, and when we go in there sometimes after I've gone to the gym, my kids like to run around. It's kind of fun. But, anyway, we're talking children in need still. We're in that segment, and you've got a lot of kids heading back to school. Actually, my daughter's starting kindergarten in 2 weeks, which is kind of amazing. Anyway, so it's a great time to talk about after-school programs. And basically, do you know what your child is doing after the bell rings at the end of the day? And and we've had in our studio before, or we've had on the line on the show before, Kevin Sorbo, a friend of mine. Actually, I was speaking to him yesterday, to a contractor, funny enough. But anyway, he's the national spokesman for an organisation called World Fit for Kids. And today in the studio, we have Hovik. Now, I'm going to say your name right. Kasamanyan?
Right.
Cool. I'm getting good. Hovik. Hovik Kasamanyan. He's... You're from World Fit for Kids, and you actually have been with them for 7 years, is it?
I'm actually been with them for 6 months.
6 months. Okay, you've been with them for 6 months. But you've actually been doing a lot of, from what I see in my notes here, you've done a lot of a background. You're Director of Operations since January this year, correct?
That's correct.
And why choose World Fit for Kids?
Well, I actually, when I graduated high school, I joined the career in the after-school world. I started off as a playground worker for LA Unified School District schools, and I've known World Fit for Kids for about 10 years. They've trained me in a lot of areas around physical fitness, and I've known the CEO, Norman Denai, and I know they do wonderful programming around fitness and developing kids. So when I had the opportunity to join World Fit for Kids, it was a perfect fit, and I was excited to join them.
Now, you worked in a public service career prior to this.
That's correct.
Right. And you also coach sports, I see. You've got you deal with a basketball team for the last 8 years?
Actually, down the street here, a private school down the street from here.
Really?
Studio.
and they've won a couple of championships.
That is correct.
So why do you think a lot of it's so important to have kids in after-school programs? I've got a lot of figures here, but I mean, coming from you do live in that world. Why do you think it's important to have something like World Fit for Kids come into an after-school program?
I think it's extremely important for programs like World Fit for Kids to serve the kids after school, where a lot of parents are working, single parents. They don't have the funds available to enroll them in activities outside the school day. And outside the school time, after the bell rings, we have the kids till 6 o'clock, and we engage them in a variety of activities that develop them physically, mentally, emotionally, and help them develop skills that can help success in education, in life, in careers, help them graduate, and develop skills that they didn't know they have, break self-imposed limitations, and thrive and succeed in all areas of life.
Now, there's also, looking at figures here, communities across the United States, there's 11.3 million children without supervision between the hours of 3 and 6, which is the most important hours when they get into trouble. They don't have parental supervision or adult supervision. They get into drugs, they get into gangs, they get into so many different things. So I think these types of programs that keep them engaged is a very important factor.
It's extremely important. As you mentioned, it is a critical time in the young people's lives after school, where they're experimenting with different things that are, counterproductive to their well-being. And when we have positive role models in these kids' lives after school who engage them and keep them engaged and motivated and connect with them on a personal level, these kids tend to shy away from crime, drugs, sex, cigarettes, all the other bad things that are out there after school because parents are working. Why
do you think in the past 5 years the amount of children that have actually been left alone after school has increased? I mean, it's increased. The percentages has gone up. Why is that?
Probably because economy. Parents have to work multiple jobs. Parents cannot be off at 3 o'clock to go pick up their children. So kids are left to fend for themselves. They walk home. They have to be home alone until probably late in the evening, when parents sometimes are from single parent homes. And kids need positive role models in their lives that can direct them the right way and keep them getting from trouble and engaging in bad behavior.
Ethan, did you ever put your daughter in an after-school program?
No.
You didn't?
Well, sports.
Sports. Why do you think sports was important?
Well, I wanted her to have physical fitness, and I liked her to have the friendships and the camaraderie of it.
You can't say that first thing in the morning, can you? Camaraderie.
No, I can't.
That's a hard word to say.
Even
at any
when
time
I'm
of the day.
on time to the show.
Dig. I was on time. I was here when it rang.
Straight.
It's like the same thing. I was here when the school bell rang. That was me.
You're misinterpreting that, my friend. We actually delayed the start 4 minutes.
No, you didn't.
Sorry, Fonz. You didn't jump the shark.
No,
this
actually,
time.
I looked it on my watch. It was 11:01.
Oh, see, your watch is wrong.
That's a digital thing. This is the thing that goes by. It goes by. It's a phone. Do you have one? I'm not sure. Anyway, sorry. We have these digs in the show all the time. What about you, John? Did you go to an after-school program?
No, I didn't. My mother was a homemaker, so I was always go straight home after school and have someone there waiting. So usually I didn't. Now when I was in high school, we had after school things like the school newspaper. I was an editor on our high school newspaper, which is an absolute blast. So I would do things like that after school, but never any sports or anything, unfortunately. But
I would have guessed that. I would have guessed
always
he was
things
the
to
editor
do.
of the paper.
Yeah, that's that. You would guess that with John. But for a lot of kids, I mean, a lot of middle school children spend time in self-care, and that increases with age. As 23% of 10-year-olds spend some time caring for themselves, compared to 44% of 12-year-olds. Now, there's 30% of American middle school children are completely unsupervised in the afternoon. So let's talk a little bit about World Fit for Kids. I mean, I know Kevin comes in. Does he do any of the programs that you put on? Does he just support the program? How does he?
Kevin's been a great supporter for almost 2 decades now, great spokesperson for our program. World Fit for Kids offers after-school programming at elementary, middle, and high school sites in Los Angeles, mostly in underprivileged areas, lower socioeconomic levels. Most of our schools are Title I schools, which means 50% or higher free or reduced lunch rates. So these kids have a definite need. We engage the kids in comprehensive programming that develops them emotionally, physically, and helps them challenge them to be engaged, whether it's the editor of the newspaper of the school after school, whether it's physical activities or whether it's healthy behaviors, learning to take care of their body so they can succeed in other areas as well. So Kevin's been great supporter of our program, and we are lucky to have him as a spokesperson. Our programs reach about 2,500 students every year. We are open throughout the year, every day the school's open, and oftentimes in the summer programs as well, summer months. So we're actually getting ready to start the school year on Tuesday when LAUSD resumes school. All of our school sites, 14 of them, will resume after-school programming. And we have about 100 employees actually currently, as we speak, in a training that are getting ready for their week. So this is their training week as they get ready for school start.
So you got... Sorry, go ahead, John. Go on.
I was going to say that's fantastic. That's a really nice sized crew that you have there. Are they mostly volunteers? How do you get those people together?
Those after school mentors, as we call them, or coaches, they're actually college students, just people who graduated high school. 50% of our employees are actually World Fit participants. So they've gone through our program as elementary kids and high school kids.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we hire most of them back to become the coaches in the next generation as well.
So,
which is great because they understand what these kids are going through because they've been through it themselves. I mean, that's fantastic.
So how does it work? I mean, first of all, you said 14 schools. Is that all in the state of California or in the Los Angeles area?
That is correct. Currently, because of the funding that we have, we're only able to offer these programs at the 14 schools that we currently have.
Right. So how does it go when you do you go and approach a school and say, hey, listen, we've got this program. What do you think? We've been successful, etc. How does it work in that process for you?
Actually, when Normandy and I started the program, it was more of that model. But recently, the Prop 49 was passed, and the ACEs, After School Education and Safety Grants, were granted to school sites that have a need, and also federal grants from 21st Century Learning Centers. So we do have grant-funded programs at our schools, but the grants only support a specific number of students after school, as some schools have over 1,000 enrollments, but we're only able to serve 80 to 100. Mm-hmm. What World Fit for Kids does is often matches some funds and fundraises to be able to provide these services for more kids in our community. So a school site that has grant funded from the state of California to serve 80 kids, sometimes we're able to bring additional money in by our nonprofit and serve 100, 120 and more.
So how do you get your funding? Where does your funding usually come from? I mean, obviously there are grants which you expose, but do those grants get supplemented by what you guys can bring to the table?
The grants are funded by the state of California for after-school educational and safety grants, and we supplement by adding matching about 33% of the grant to bring in additional funds to expand our services and provide more services.
So if someone wants, well, obviously we're going to be talking about your site where we can go and visit World Fit for Kids. I mean, I've spoken to Kevin a couple of times about it. I've known Kevin since a long time. Let's leave that alone. Actually, funny, he'll tell you, I choreographed him in a fashion show back in 1985. That's 86 when I came here for the first time. So I've known Kevin a fair amount of time. I think Ethan's nodding his head in like, I can't believe it.
No surprise.
I think we need video of this on the Peace Fund.
I'm sure we have it.
I'm sure I've got something somewhere, but you know how you lose files over the years before the internet, before you stored stuff? I mean, the 90s was kind of like the invasion of the internet in a sense, and 2000s was we were totally in it. Prior to that, it was like, let's take a photo and hope we'll keep it at some point. So.
I think our listeners want to see this.
Yeah, it's like Ethan will always bring up the Duran Duran video, but he hasn't done in the past 6 months, which I'm very, very proud of him for.
I can find it.
You can find it. Yeah, there you go.
I can find it.
Yeah, that's so nice of you.
So, does everyone know what Duran Duran video he's referring to? Do your listeners know?
No, I don't know. But why don't you tell them? Since you're dying
It's My Own Way, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's My Own Way. Yeah,
it's My Own Way. Quite a stunning performance as a matador, I should
But let's get back to the topic. Working parents, I mean, after-school programs like yours. I mean, there are other programs that do it. And do you get other school supplies, other supplies at the schools that the kids need to go in through these programs?
The school provides the space, the classrooms, the custodial support. So they have to meet us with supporting some of the services as well. We bring in the trained coaches and mentors to work with the kids, and we do the administration and overall program enforcement. We develop a curriculum. We develop the academic curriculum. We develop enrichment activities for the kids as well, and also the physical activities that they do conduct.
All right, so run me through a program. You got 3 hours. What do the kids do? How do they split up? How does it work? Physical activity all the time? Written? How does that go through?
No, actually, the kids after school, when the bell rings, our staff is already on site. They greet the kids and they sign them in. And the kids are then put in through a program that encompasses different components. We do have about 45 minutes on average of physical activity. We have homework assistance where the kids complete their homework. We have tutoring available. We do provide academic enrichment where the kids are expanding on their math, literacy skills. There are also then enrichment activities such as arts and music and other things that the school doesn't usually provide. So we provide them a wholesome programming that engages them in multiple areas, multiple subject areas that helps the kids connect and just maybe develop a love for something that they weren't exposed to before. So it is tied with the school day. We do support what the school is doing during the day, and we want to continue that after school, but we also bring on and expand on those programs as well.
Can you gauge on how students are doing? I mean, obviously, how often in the week is the after-school program? How many
every
days?
Single day.
It's every day of the school. So you run the entire school. That's amazing. I mean, because it is true. I mean, parents go to work; they're not back till 5 or 6 at night, and especially when a mom comes home, she can't go and pick her kids up. She's got to go and work because, especially in the economy, I'm looking at these numbers now. In the last 30 years, the radical increase of women going to work, the labour force is now made up of 77.3% of school-aged mothers that are now inside the labour force. So you have to put the kids somewhere. And I think programs like yours actually allow them to earn a wage and keep the kids out of trouble. But how do you gauge if they are actually learning anything? I mean, does it work? Do you have a gauge on that?
We have studies and we have statistics that show that participants in our programs attend school more often. They increased on their test scores, increased on their physical fitness scores. We're also providing them with healthy snacks and making sure that they learn healthy behaviors, so they're less sick. They're sick less often. They're attending more school. So we have studies that show graduation rates increase. Actually, 97% of World Fit participants graduate high school versus the LAUSD average of 60-something%. So it shows that they are working, the kids are getting better grades, they're graduating, they're healthier, they're at school more often, and parents can stay at work. They don't have to miss as many days as work. And actually studies that show that participants, the parents are actually better performing at work because they don't have to miss.
They don't have to worry about their kids. Yeah, no, I mean, the Peace Fund actually had a program called School Makes a Difference, which was similar in process, but it was only a 1-day program, 2-day program that we would go into schools and offer 10 different classes ranging from fitness to interactive storytelling and arts and crafts and peer pressure and different things of that nature, depending on what the school needed. So I get it, because actually we did find exactly the same thing as you said, which was because the kids are they have an attention, somebody's paying attention to them, especially from lower income families, because a lot of the times their mothers and fathers cannot afford to have an after school program or have people supervise them, that there is a definite increase in their attention span into what they're doing, whether it is math, whether it is sports, whatever that school actually needs. So I get what you guys do.
There was actually a recent focus group we did with one of our high schools, and we interviewed them and asked them, what makes them want to come after school and what makes them want to come to school. And a majority of the responses shared that they enjoyed the connection with the adult after school, the connection with their peers after school. So it was not the curriculum day, it was the after school fun setting that they still engaged in learning and made personal connections and were a caring role model. The
funny thing is, and I personally found this when I taught some of these classes, the fact of when a child is not engaged, when they're not literally emotionally or physically engaged in something, their mind wanders, because kids' attention span is very... And we've talked on this show many times before about doctors saying, well, they've got ADD. No, they don't. They're kids. They're kids, basically, they have to expound energy. And when they don't put it into a correct thing, their energy goes somewhere else, which might be detrimental to them, their friends, and their family. So I think it's very important to understand that kids need to be kids, but you engage them. Engaging them in something really then focuses them into a direction that they might go somewhere else if they didn't have that attention put on them.
Exactly. Actually, our high school programs are geared where they are student interest driven. We create activities after school at the middle and high schools where the students are kind of selecting the activities they want to engage in, whether it's journalism, whether it's videography, whether it's dance, whether it's science and robotics. They are choosing the activities they want to engage in, and that's the activities that we create, and we provide a trained staff member that can engage them, connect with them, and help them learn skills that will transfer into the classroom and also into the workplace.
So, you've been there for 6 months.
Correct.
Right?
But I've been working with after schools for over 15 years.
15 years, yeah. And so and there are other after school programs across the country, which I think, all power to anybody that does that, because apart from it being a babysitting service in a sense, I mean, I'm not being funny about that, but I know that, I go, well, I need my kids to be engaged in something. Instead of getting a nanny to engage them in reading or whatever, there is a program after school that can keep them in that environment that they're safe in. So, I really appreciate it. But in a sense, that's the service that is provided. And I think it's a very good service because of all the factors that we've discussed. But there are other after-school programs. Are they similar in type, the programs, or do they follow your model, or are they different?
Our model is focused on the healthy behaviors and the physical development and emotional development of the children. There's other after-school providers that may have a different areas of expertise. Actually, the LA Unified School District, who we contract with to be at the 14 sites, has a Beyond the Bell branch programs, which I worked with 14 years, and they have a variety of programming as well. And there's other organizations and for-profit businesses that also run after-school programs, and they may have their own expertise or their own niche. A World Fit for Kids is been around for one of the longer terms. I've been over since '93. We've been providing after-school programs and these healthy behaviors for kids. And so we have success stories that we also take share with other agencies. We oftentimes train these other after-school providers to be able to provide the quality after-school programming that we've learned from and we've honed on and we've developed to become very successful. So we do share our successes and we do share our expertise with others so they can provide the same high quality programming.
I think it's interesting. I'm a firm believer, especially in this social media time, that you actually have strength in numbers. And when charities or non-profits can share, it's not money. It's not about money. It's about, because in the end, we're all there as a non-profit. Let's say that again. Most of us are there as a non-profit to do something good for the children, not for monetary gain. That's what non-profit actually stands for, although some people actually use it so that they can actually garner different things. Anyway, let's get off of that subject. But the fact is that non-profits coming together to share information, because we're doing the same thing, whether they are after-school programs sharing information, it strengthens the entire population and the economy and the social structure of our society, because we have responsible children growing up in our society. So I think after-school program sharing, whether it's water charities, after-school program charities, healthcare charities, whatever they are, sharing information rather than funding, because everybody needs their funding, it's a very important thing, especially in this social media world, which all media is so fragmented today.
Correct. Actually, what World Fit for Kids does is, a strength of ours, is we do aggressively approach grants and providers. And one of our current supporters of our programs provides us a grant from Kaiser Permanente, which gives us specific money to go and train other agencies and other after-school program providers, other adults and young people that work with youth. We train them on our best practices and what works with these kids.
You spoke about funding. I mean, we touched on funding, and that's obviously something that is, funding is funding. It's difficult to get for a lot of non-profits, and everybody's like, well, I need my funding to do my program, etc. And federal funding is actually lacking. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm looking here at some of the stuff here. When you've got communities and families struggling financially, and kids are falling back academically, these after-school programs do not run themselves. Even though, and I think this is the other thing, is a lot of the people, we as a society today, compared to 30, 40 years ago, there is so much more of our workforce at home and less funding in the schools, and we have to participate more in the schools as parents that it's actually more of a stress to actually, so having an after school program that actually takes care of some of that for you is very important, because I know a lot of parents have to go fundraising and do those things for the school, whereas before they could put their kids in school and say, okay, the teachers have got it, they've got the great program, I can go off, they've got the sports, they've got the music, they've got the arts and crafts, the sciences, etc., and I know that they're safe. But that's not the case these days.
No, and the World for Kids programs are completely free. We don't charge a single penny for any of our participants or our families. We do understand that they are, they're struggling as well, and they're working oftentimes 2-3 jobs to support their families. If you were to send your child to childcare after school for the entire year, it'll be from $7,000 to $10,000. With about $8,000, we can provide a coach after school, a mentor, a positive role model that can serve 20 families at a school site. When
you say $8,000, what do you mean? To actually run that program for that period of the school year?
Yes. It costs basically World for Kids invests about $8,000 on average per coach to be able to provide these services for 20 kids. We have a 20-to-1 ratio. We make sure that our coaches or adults that are working with the kids do not exceed 20-to-1. Mm-hmm. So with about $8,000, we were able to serve 20 more families from the school. Our school populations are high, 800,000 population, and we're only able to serve a small percentage of that. Sometimes 80 kids, 100 kids. But there is a couple hundred other families that want our services, but we don't have space, we don't have the funding. So oftentimes we do fundraise on our end or great grants to support our programs, but ultimately it costs about $8,000 to serve 20 additional kids or families for the entire school year.
Well, I'm looking at some stuff here. It actually says, for most part, parents bear the majority of the costs of some after-school programs, and the average parent pays about $113 a week, with only 1 in 5 parents actually receiving governmental assistance. That's nationwide. Now, a lot of advocates that are for after-school programs, not necessarily yours, where you actually have the ability to come in and actually fund some of it yourselves, but the Congress is considering cutting funding for the 21st Century Community Learning Center, which is the CCLC, which currently provides almost $1 billion nationwide in grants for states, for schools to provide after-school and summer programs, primarily for low-income households.
And that's exactly some of our high schools are run through those federal grants, the 21st Century Learning Center grants. And yes, the funding is always being cut or reduced. And actually, we're in a little bind with the after-school world, because the funding has stayed stagnant throughout the years, but the cost of doing business has gone up. Rent goes up. We have higher rates for employees. The paid sick leave for part-time employees has kicked in just July 1st, which also puts a bind on us. And also, the minimum wage increase is going to affect us as well. So those are all going to increase our cost of operations, but the funding that we get from the state or federal government stays the same.
Well, this bill that they're talking about actually would remove, a lot of the funding that's earmarked for after-school programs. So, and that's going to allow, local education agencies to decide where certain funding can go towards schools. So without this funding, specifically dedicated to programs operating outside the traditional day, whether it's summer or whether it's after-school programs, there's a good chance that opportunities currently available to students will actually dry up. And I think that's very scary in a sense, because then you're going to have a lot of kids, which we talked about earlier in the show, go to other things rather than actually being directed towards healthy energy.
That's exactly correct. If the funding dries up, then we can't serve the kids that we've been able to serve unless we can find other funds or find other, fundraisers, et cetera, to be able to serve these kids. Obviously it costs money to provide these trainings and provide these caring, responsible adults to work with these children. And with the funding drying up, it's going to be more kids unsupervised after school, after 3 o'clock.
We're in this section right now. I want to bring John Bealey in. We've got our Hero of the Week, which I think is very relevant to this day. Every week we bring a young person in who has done some great stuff for the community and for our society around the country and possibly around the world. So, John, who do you have this week for us?
This is as Adrian said, every week we talk to these young people who do incredible things for other young people. They're incredible stories. And today's Hero of the Week fits right in with some of the physical fitness and after-school activities that we're talking about. She's Mélanie-Rose Frappier. And a list of her accomplishments and awards would fill about 5 episodes of Peace Fund Radio. So I'm going to have a link on our blog at blog.thepeacefund.org later today where you can read about some of her accomplishments and activities. She is a singer. She plays piano. She's a motivational speaker. She's also a championship athlete in her own right. And she uses those talents to work directly with children at home and abroad to help them understand and enjoy the benefits of being active and of being fit and of being part of a team. It's fantastic. So she's going to be joining us here by phone to tell us what her organization is called and what they're doing to get these kids involved.
Just one thing, John. It's Melanie. I was married to a Mélanie. It wasn't spelt like that.
Well, actually, there's a... I found a YouTube video of her where she actually, that's how she pronounces it.
She says Mélanie, not Mélanie-Rose. And in fact, it almost looks like a French name, Mélanie-Rose Frappier. How do you say, I'm interested to see how she pronounces her name, because
I could be wrong.
Because
I've been wrong before.
The interesting thing, she's president of a school council at the École Secondaire de Sacré-Cœur, and ça c'est français. That is French, so I'm pretty certain I might be correct here, John.
I've been wrong before.
Let's find out here.
She's coming on the line right now, I believe.
And now we're ringing in. Obviously, you know, I want to ask her a lot of things.
Hello?
Hello, is this Melanie or Mélanie?
It's Mélanie-Rose.
Mélanie-Rose. We were just having a discussion as to how your name was supposed to be pronounced. And did you go to a French school?
I am actually French. It's my first language.
Ah, vous êtes français?
Oui.
Ah, bien. Alors, see, I was right, John. I'm sorry. Frappier. Mélanie-Rose Frappier. Frappier? It's Frappier, isn't it?
I know.
Frappier. Thank you very much. Hello. Welcome to Peace Fund Radio with Adrian Paul this morning, and Ethan Dettenmaier and John Beerley. And also we have on the program Hovik Kasamanyan from World Fit for Kids. Good morning, young lady. How old are you this morning?
I'm 18 years old.
18, and John has been telling us a little bit about what you've been up to, and it's kind of interesting. You do a lot of physical fitness. Why do you think it's important for children, and why did you choose physical fitness as the cause you wanted to represent?
Well, physical activity and health has always been my passion. I chose this cause because of the many benefits. Not only does exercise improve your health, but it also helps you develop communication skills, build friendships, give you confidence, and many more. Since a very young age, I have always been interested in physical activity. I was always in several sports like soccer, baseball, squash, and many more. It has always been a part of my life.
So you've got your non-profit organisation. In English, it's called To Be Healthy, but I'm going to say in French, c'est cool d'être en santé. And merci. What made you decide to found it?
Well, 3 years ago, I was selected as the Youth Ambassador of Canada. With that, I spent 3 weeks in the U.S. and met amazing people that made a difference in other people's lives. That made me realize that I wanted to do the same. And I decided to do that through health and physical activity as the two most important things in my life.
So how does your program work? How tell me something about, how it would work for you in your organization.
Well, It's Cool to Be Healthy is based on raising awareness about a healthy lifestyle through physical activity, games, and nutrition. I do presentations to schools, daycares, and associations in my community and also across Canada. During the presentations, I teach them about the benefits of physical activity and let them ask their questions. Afterwards, we go outside and play games. I've been able to reach up to 25,000 people personally and even more through the media.
That's very cool. I mean, I think it's very good to touch them directly. I mean, and what kind of volunteer work do you do with them? I mean, do you just motivationally? Because you said something a second ago about you being, you giving them nutritional education. Is that correct? Or do you have somebody that works with you, or is it just how you see it?
Well, with my nonprofit, I always have a lot of volunteers that help me, also my sister and my family. It's mostly presentations, but also I have been able to hand out up to 150 soccer balls to children in my community. And I also went to Jamaica this year, and I offered them soccer balls, school supplies, and many more. So not only do I teach them the benefits of a healthy lifestyle, I like to play with them so that they learn hands-on how much fun it can be.
What sort of age groups are you usually dealing with?
Usually between the ages of 6 to 15.
6 to 15. And
Yes.
how do these kids respond? I mean, do the older ones kind of look at you like, well, you know, what are you talking about? Or do they go, yeah, I can't, this is kind of cool?
No, all ages. Every time I do a presentation, they're always happy and excited to play and learn new games. I think they really realize how much fun they could be having outside instead of just staying inside and playing video games. It always warms my heart how much fun they're having.
So what's the biggest audience you've been in front of?
Well, last October, I had the chance to speak at We Day Toronto in front of 20,000 youth in the Air Canada Centre.
That's a lot of people.
Yes, that is.
Did it scare you a little bit?
I was a little nervous at first, but once on stage, it was fine.
So what do you think the biggest issue is facing children today in their health?
Well,
What do you think it is?
The biggest issue, I believe, is the advancement of technology and the amount of time children play on the internet and on their video games.
Yeah, what about from a health standpoint? I mean, does anything like their food or their nutrition play a big part in this? The way that what they eat and the way they behave?
Oh yes, I would say so, because a lot of families, they eat a lot of junk food these days instead of actually buying healthy foods. And I believe that if they would have healthy meals, they would have more energy and more determination to go outside and actually play and do physical activity.
So I've got a little birdie told me that basically you got a little help from your younger sister. What's her name and how old is she?
Her name is Mélanie-Rose Frappier, and she's 10 years old.
She's 10 years old. And how did she help you out?
She always helps me with my presentations. Also, she's creating her own nonprofit called Helping is Caring. So sometimes we help each other with presentations and events.
Okay, so what's coming up for you? What do you have next?
Well, at the moment, I'm in the process of making a website where all my presentations and events will be announced. Also, in the near future, I want to create a national It's Cool to Be Healthy Day, where I will be creating a flash mob dance and sending it to all the schools in Canada. Then on that specific day, if the school is interested, can do the dance and send the video to me, and it will later be posted on my website.
And where can people find you online?
They can search up on Facebook for my Facebook page, It's Cool to Be Healthy.
It's cool to be healthy.org, or is it on Facebook? It's cool to be healthy. Is that correct?
Yes, it's a Facebook page.
John, you have that, right?
Yes, we will have a link to that on the blog and social media later today. And also, I would ask you quickly too. You were able to visit Jamaica. How were the kids there? How did they react differently than kids you've dealt with directly in Canada?
Well, the children in the orphanage in Jamaica were a lot less lucky than the children here in Canada. They were very excited to see me with all that equipment and supplies, and I actually spent the day with them, and it was very touching to see how emotional they got for someone helping them in that way. As in Canada, when you see a soccer ball, when you see sports equipment, it's something that you see every day, but for them, it was a very big gift.
So, tell us again, what advice would you give to young people that want to start their own organizations? Obviously, your sister wants to do it, so, I think anybody of any age can actually do something of this, but, what advice would you give them?
My advice would be to find your passion and determination, and to start now and start today. Don't wait for the perfect moment, and take the moment and make it perfect, because I truly believe that no matter how old you are, us youth can set new goals and redefine what is known as impossible.
Well, Mélanie-Rose, merci beaucoup, and and congratulations, you are our Peace Fund Hero of the Week. Keep up the good work. I expect to hear lots more from you, and thank you for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So again, I think it's a nationwide thing that this health thing has to be directed towards the children that we have, and like Melanie and World Fit for Kids, having these programs after school and inspiring kids is a very important part of our culture.
Absolutely, and I would like to thank Mélanie-Rose for her time. I know how busy she is, and we were very, very grateful that she made some time in her busy schedule to come on this morning and talk to us about it. It's amazing, as I talk to these heroes of the week, just how busy these kids are. I mean, they have their social lives and their family lives and school and all of these other extracurricular activities, and they still make the time to do these incredible things for other kids, and it just blows me away. Every time I feel like I'm a little overwhelmed in a week, I just sort of stop and think, yeah, well, what about that kid who started a charity and helped hundreds of thousands of people? Maybe I shouldn't complain.
Well, she mentioned something a little ago regarding about being on social media or laptops and getting away from that and getting into a physical activity. I think that's another key thing. Technology is one of the bad parts as well as the good parts of what we have every day in our lives today. So there's a balance. I think we have to know where that balance is, because sitting a kid in front of a computer or a laptop or something of that nature today, even though there's huge amounts of content for them, I think it has no replacement for the physical and mental interaction that they would have if they were doing it with somebody else.
Absolutely.
That's also why some of the obesity rates have gone up so much throughout the years, and kids spend a lot of time on screen time, and they need to get outside and play, and that's what programs like Melanie, what she's doing in educating them, and World Fit for Kids does, is gets kids to be physically active. And we will make sure it's not just the athletic kids. We make sure that the kids, the physical activity that we provide is purposeful and it's success for all. Every child that participates feels fun and feels successful, and they develop skills that can be transferred on later into different sports and athletics, etc. But we make sure that it's intentional, so every kid develops at their own pace, every kid enjoys the process, and hopefully has a lifelong love of physical activity as well.
So let me ask you, here's your deal. Your basketball team. Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the basketball team. They've won a couple of trophies, I hear, a couple of championships. This is something you love to do after school, or is this when do you do this?
Actually, it is after school. The team I work with is up the street here. That's a private school, the Buckley School up the street.
Oh, Buckley, yeah, I know Buckley.
I've worked
very
with
good
them
school.
For 8 years, correct, very good school. But I loved basketball. I played as a young kid, and I played chess. But playing chess, I sat down and I had a lot of energy, and all these kids have a lot of energy. They're made to move. I love the game of chess, but I had too much energy to sit and play for hours. I wanted to get up and run around, so that's why I fell in love with basketball. I've enjoyed it so much where I've continued coaching, and at the high school we work with, again, the kids, the skills they developed as that was mentioned earlier as well, the skills that you develop through sports, through physical activity, carries over into the life. I'm actually a product of that, playing organized sports, playing basketball, and now even coaching basketball. You see the benefits the kids gain, the life skills they establish, and the confidence they build, the persistence, the dedication, all the different wonderful skills that are transferable into the workplace, into the educational setting, and setting goals for themselves and accomplishing those.
I have nothing to say really about that. I mean, I think with people like, we get awed every week pretty much by people like yourself and like your organisations that are out there actually making a difference, because there are a lot of negative stuff out there, and I think it's important to highlight, your organisation and people that are doing things of this nature. John, do you have some other updates for us currently? I think we have a couple in the meantime.
I do. I have some always exciting to talk about Peace Fund Poker, which is coming up on September 26th in Playa Vista, California, at Microsoft at the Reserve there. You can go to peacefundpoker.org and get all of the information you need about how to register if you'd like to sponsor the event, if you think your employer might like to sponsor the event. And there's also a brand new video introduction from our very own Adrian Paul talking about the event and how you can be a part of it. How's that coming together, Adrian?
Oh dear, this is kind of getting big. I mean, we've got a lot of celebrities. We've got Peter Fonda coming, John Savage coming, Bai Ling coming, obviously myself. We've got Tara Reid. We've got a lot of different celebrities. We've got 25, 26, 27 celebrities, and they're coming on every day right now, which is great. And we've got another 6 weeks, I think. What have we now? So August 12th? Yeah, probably another 6 weeks to this competition, and I think it's going to be a very interesting one, because we're going to create something where people can actually be online and watch the show, and support the celebrities. Very simple. You join Peace Fund Poker. You can actually then go in and have a player page where you can invite all your friends to donate to your table. So in other words, for you to win, you can actually have your friends and family donate $25, for instance, and that gets you chips in the competition. The more you raise, the more chips you have on the table. Real simple. So therefore, if you can't be there, and every single penny is a tax-deductible donation, it goes to the kids that we're trying to help and the variety of programs that we have out there. So I think that's why we're getting such great response. And our first one in 2014, the video is actually up on the site as well. And I think it's going to be a very cool event, and we're going to be probably having like all your tweets coming through to the celebrities. We're going to be having our Periscope is possibly going to be on there all the time for us, so you can literally hear and see live what's going on. We're going to be streaming it. We're going to be having live Twitter. So there's got a lot of interaction we're going on, and it's going to highlight a lot of the causes that we support and some of the children that we support. So I'm kind of getting very excited about this one, because last year we had a month to put it through. We were able to fund 2 wells in Niger, West Africa through Wells Bring Hope. And so that was very successful. You can actually see that on the site, www.peacefundpoker.org. So we're hoping this year we can, do even better than that and really put forward what my goal would be, to actually relaunch the School Makes a Difference program. And, then I'd be talking to people like School Well Fit for Kids to partner on different things on these programs where we offer the same type of after-school things, but then as charities coming together, we'd find the funding and possibly help, with the logistics from people that have also done it in the same after-school arena. So that's kind of exciting for us. We're kind of pushing that forward. And funny, we had to change the date. The funny thing was it went from September 19th to September 26th. And the funniest thing was it was through no fault of our own. We had to change it. But the minute we did, somebody went, "Oh, thank God that happened." I said, "Why?" I said, "Well, because the Emmy gifting suites are that weekend." I'm like, "Oh gosh," so that means the following, nobody from the TV area would have come through. And then there was another one, the USC Stanford game, I think the USC game is that weekend as well. So there was another reason, and other people's celebrities came available. I was like, "Oh, this is awesome." As things happen for a reason. Anyway, we're going to have to stop this. Hey, Jason, did you see my tattoo? Oh, look at that.
When did you get that?
Oh, I just got it this weekend. And but it's all on my Facebook page. People have seen that. Nobody sees it. People say, "Why did you put it on inside your arm?" I said, "Well, probably because I didn't necessarily want anybody to see it. It's personal to me, and if you see it, then I'll explain to you what it's all about." But I'm babbling quickly now because we're at the end of the show, and then I'll get in trouble if we've done it. We've got 2 minutes left. 2 minutes? That's probably because we started 2 minutes late. Hovik, what's next for Well Fit for Kids? What do you think is going to?
We're looking to expand our programs and continue to offer the healthy behaviors programming to many more students and many more kids that need it, and I hope make a difference in the next generation of youth.
Well, thank you for doing that, and thank you for being part of that program, and thank you for joining us today and explaining all of that. Everybody out there, you can see what we're doing on the Peace Fund site, and yes, we are redoing our site. I've been telling you that for a year and a half, but we haven't found the right people to do it yet. But now I think we have, so we're working on that. Thank you, Bev Shahara, for bringing us this program. John, thank you as always.
It is my honor as always.
Yeah, your dedication is fantastic, as well as Ethan. Even though I rag him a lot of the time. I mean, he, like you said, everybody's got like their lives to lead, and people do things for nothing because it's good for our lives and the society around us. So, in closing, I am going to close a quote by our hero Mélanie-Rose, John, and she says,
"Yeah,
start now, start today. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take the moment and make it perfect, because now is the time to make a positive impact on people's lives. No matter how old you are, youth can set new goals and redefine what is impossible." This is Adrian Paul and Ethan Dettenmaier. We'll see you next week.
You're listening to Peace Fund Radio with Ethan Dettenmaier and Adrian Paul, right here on LA Talk Radio.